Number 15. Urban legends often thrive in the spaces where technology and imagination collide, and the silent passenger is no exception. The story begins on a seemingly ordinary evening on a city subway line that no longer exists, at least not in any official record. A video surfaced briefly on a small forum dedicated to strange urban occurrences, depicting a subway car's security feed. The train was nearly empty, except for a lone figure seated in the middle of a carriage. What set this figure apart was not their appearance, which seemed unremarkable, dark coat, hood raised, but their complete stillness. For the entire duration of the clip, the figure never moved, not even as the train rattled and lurched along the tracks. What made the footage unsettling was the route. According to the poster, this particular subway line had been decommissioned for over a decade. It was impossible, they claimed, for anyone to be on that train, let alone for a security feed to exist. Yet the video was there, clear as day, complete with the familiar hum of the train and the flicker of old fluorescent lights overhead. Viewers described feeling an immediate sense of unease as they watched the figure sit motionless, only for the train to arrive at what looked like a sealed station. The train's doors opened with a creak that echoed through the car, and for a moment the figure remained seated. Then, with slow, deliberate motion, they stood and stepped out into the station, disappearing into the shadows. The clip ended there. For a brief window, it was shared, re-uploaded, and discussed. Viewers speculated wildly. Some claimed the video was a clever hoax, created using old transit footage and digital manipulation. Others believed it was evidence of a parallel reality bleeding into our own, or a remnant of some forgotten tragedy. The original uploader deleted their account within days, and any trace of the video seemed to vanish. Links led to dead pages, and saved copies refused to play. Those who claimed to have downloaded the clip reported corrupted files or inexplicable deletion from their devices. What made this mystery linger was how ordinary it all seemed at first glance. A person on a train should not be cause for alarm. Yet the sheer stillness of the figure, the impossible setting, and the sudden disappearance of both the video and its source left an indelible mark on those who witnessed it. Even now, stories circulate of people seeing that same silent passenger on late-night trains that shouldn't be running, always in the same seat, always still, until the train pulls into a station that no longer appears on any map. Number 14. In the age of instant sharing, live streams offer an unfiltered window into the mundane and the mysterious alike. That is what made the Basement Door live stream so disturbing. A small creator, mostly known for casual chats and DIY projects, began what seemed like an ordinary session late one evening. The stream started with the creator addressing their audience in a quiet voice, mentioning that they had been hearing odd noises coming from beneath their house. Viewers watched as the camera shook slightly in their hands, the dim light of a single bulb casting long shadows on the narrow wooden stairs that led down into the basement. There was nothing remarkable about the setting. Exposed pipes, boxes stacked high, old furniture covered in sheets. The kind of basement that exists in countless homes across the country. What set this stream apart was the sound. A faint tapping that seemed to come from the other side of a battered door at the far end of the room. The creator, voice trembling but trying to stay composed, made their way toward the door. The tapping grew louder, irregular, like fingernails or knuckles brushing wood with increasing insistence. Thousands of viewers had joined by this point, drawn in by the tension that the creator had not intended to create. As they reached the door, the tapping stopped. A long silence followed, broken only by the hiss of the live stream's audio. The door creaked. It moved slowly inward, as if pushed from the other side, though no hand appeared in the frame. For a moment, the camera caught a glimpse of darkness beyond the doorway, deeper than the shadows of the room itself. Then, without warning, the stream cut to black. There was no farewell, no sign of technical trouble, no explanation. The entire channel disappeared soon after. No archives remained, no recordings uploaded elsewhere. Those who watched tried to capture fragments, but any re-uploaded clips were quickly taken down or corrupted. Commentary filled forums and message boards, some insisting it was a stunt for attention, others swearing they heard whispers in the final moments of the audio. A few viewers described hearing their own names among those whispers. What remains is the unsettling memory of that stream, a door that should have stayed shut, and a mystery that left more questions than answers. Number 13. The vastness of a desert can play strange tricks on the mind, but sometimes it's the lens of a camera that captures what the eye might have doubted. The video that became known as the Desert Figure Walk began as an ordinary adventure. A solo hiker set out to document a trek across remote dunes, their camera mounted to capture the endless horizon. For the first hour, the footage offered nothing unusual, just the rhythmic crunch of boots on sand, the shimmering air, and the slow march of the sun overhead. Then, somewhere near what the uploader described as a forgotten stretch between two dry riverbeds, the figure appeared. At first, it was little more than a dot on the horizon. The hiker's commentary, casual up to that point, shifted in tone. There was confusion. No settlements existed for miles in any direction. No vehicles had passed. The figure seemed to move with purpose, walking parallel to the hiker, but never drawing closer or falling behind. The camera zoomed in. The figure wore what looked like dark robes that billowed in the breeze. The face was hidden beneath a hood, or perhaps in shadow, impossible to tell for certain. The hiker called out, but the figure gave no sign of hearing. The silence of the desert made the lack of response feel even more pronounced. The video, lasting about 15 minutes beyond that point, showed the hiker growing increasingly unsettled. Their breathing quickened. The camera trembled slightly as they turned it back and forth, trying to make sense of the situation. The figure continued to walk, always at the same distance, until at last it veered away, disappearing behind a rise of sand. The hiker approached the spot moments later, but the figure had vanished. There were no footprints. The dunes were undisturbed. The voice of the hiker in those final minutes reflected genuine fear. They ended the video abruptly, claiming they felt watched. The clip spread rapidly, but just as quickly, it was gone. The account that posted it was deleted. Re-uploads failed. Some claimed corrupted files. Others said their devices froze whenever they tried to watch. Theories ranged from hallucination to digital fabrication, but no one could explain why those who saw the video described a lingering sense of dread, as if the figure they had watched was now watching them in return. Number 12. There are moments when what seems ordinary becomes deeply unsettling, not because of what is seen, but because of what remains unexplained. The video that came to be known as the smiling woman at the window began as a simple test of a new camera. The uploader was filming the city skyline from their apartment at dusk, capturing the way the fading light reflected off the buildings. The camera panned slowly, settling at last on a neighboring apartment block. There, in a window high above the street, stood a woman. She was still, framed by thin curtains that fluttered slightly in the evening breeze. What drew attention was her expression. She smiled, wide and fixed, as if unaware or uncaring of the camera pointed in her direction. The clip continued for several minutes. The woman never moved. The smile never faded. Lights in the surrounding apartments flicked on as night fell, but her window remained dim. The uploader's voice could be heard in the background, first amused, then uneasy. They zoomed in, hoping perhaps to see more detail, but the image remained strangely soft around the edges of her face, as though the lens could not quite focus. The smile seemed to widen in that final close-up, though no movement had been visible. Then, without warning, the woman stepped back into the darkness of the room, leaving the window empty. The uploader shared the clip online, unsure of what to make of the encounter. Viewers speculated wildly. Some suggested a mannequin placed as a prank. Others thought it might be a person suffering from some unknown condition. What unsettled most was the uploader's follow-up. In comments before their account vanished, they claimed that after posting the video, they began seeing the woman again in different windows, always smiling, always still. No one else could confirm these sightings. The video itself disappeared from the web within days. Attempts to archive or re-upload it failed or resulted in broken links. Those who had seen it spoke of a lingering unease, a sense of being watched long after the screen had gone dark. Number 11. Nature has a way of concealing the unknown in plain sight, and forests are places where the boundary between the ordinary and the unexplainable often blurs. The forest light anomaly began with a hobbyist drone operator who set out to capture autumn colors from above. The footage started as expected, showing golden canopies and winding trails beneath the shifting shadows of late afternoon. The drone glided steadily, the hum of its blades audible in the crisp air. Then the lights appeared. They were not reflections of the sun or flares of the lens. Instead, they moved with purpose, weaving between the trees in patterns that defied explanation. Bright enough to be visible, yet soft enough to seem unreal. The shapes pulsed gently as they glided through the undergrowth and up along the trunks of towering pines. The operator's voice on the video shifted from wonder to concern. They tried to adjust the drone's position to follow the lights, but the machine stuttered, as if struggling against interference. For several minutes, the video showed these glowing forms moving in ways no known creature or device could mimic. The lights never broke the canopy, as if confined to the forest floor. When the drone's battery warning sounded, the operator brought it back, ending the flight but not the questions. The clip was shared on a small forum dedicated to aerial photography, where it drew immediate attention. Comments ranged from admiration of the beauty to concern about what exactly had been recorded. Some suggested natural phenomena, others whispered about folklore tied to spirits or guardians of the woods. The operator posted once more, claiming that since filming the lights, they had heard strange sounds near their property at night. Soon after, their account was deleted. Attempts to locate the original video failed. Copies that had been saved either wouldn't play or displayed heavy distortion at the point where the lights appeared. The forest where the video was filmed became a minor point of interest, drawing in those hoping to witness the anomaly for themselves. No one reported seeing the lights again, but those who had watched the video remembered the way the forest seemed to breathe with them, as if aware of the observer. Number 10. There is something about empty schools that invites unease. Perhaps it is the silence where once there was noise, or the way long hallways seem to stretch endlessly when left to decay. The abandoned school camcorder video emerged after an urban explorer found an old recording device in what appeared to be a forgotten schoolhouse on the outskirts of a rural town. The building itself had been boarded up for years, its history lost to time or willfully erased. The camcorder, coated in dust, still held power. The explorer uploaded the footage they recovered, expecting little more than scenes of dusty desks and peeling paint. What viewers saw was different. The video showed a slow walk through dim corridors, the camera operator unknown. The camcorder captured glimpses into classrooms where chairs sat askew and books lay scattered across floors. What made the footage disturbing was the sense of intent behind it. The camera lingered on certain doors, as if listening for a sound beyond. At one point, it paused at a stairwell, focusing on the darkness below for what felt like far too long. Faint noises, difficult to define, could be heard in the background. A soft thud here, a creak there. The recording ended abruptly as the camera turned sharply toward a locker that had not been visible before, its door hanging open, revealing only shadows inside. The explorer who found the camcorder claimed they felt watched throughout their visit, though no one else had been present. After posting the video, they removed it within days, citing overwhelming unease and the belief that they had brought something back from the site. Attempts to re-upload the clip resulted in strange file errors, and even screenshots of the footage appeared distorted. The school itself was demolished not long after, erasing the setting of the mystery. What remains are fragments of recollection from those who saw the video in time, describing how the empty rooms and quiet halls seemed to conceal more than abandonment. Number 9. Parks are places where people seek peace, yet they can also become the stage for the strange and unexplained. The park bench encounter began with a short video taken by a jogger during an early morning run. The footage seemed casual at first, capturing the soft light filtering through trees and the empty pathways of a city park. The camera, likely a phone balanced on an armband or handheld for stability, panned briefly across a clearing where a bench sat beneath an old oak. Seated there was a figure cloaked in dark fabric, head bowed, motionless despite the crisp breeze that stirred the leaves around them. The jogger's voice, caught faintly on the recording, reflected surprise. They commented on how out of place the figure appeared, sitting so still at an hour when the park was otherwise empty. The jogger circled back later that morning, curious to see if the figure remained. They did. The same posture, the same stillness, as if time had no meaning for whoever or whatever sat there. Over the course of the short video, the jogger approached cautiously, calling out a greeting. There was no response. The closer they drew, the more unsettling the figure seemed. The fabric of the cloak appeared worn and tattered at the edges, though no face was visible beneath the hood. The air felt heavier, as the jogger would later describe in a brief post accompanying the video. The clip ended as the jogger turned abruptly, deciding not to risk further approach. They shared the footage online, seeking answers or at least theories. Comments flooded in. Some suggested a prank, others spoke of local legends involving watchers or guardians of forgotten places. A few viewers claimed they had seen the same figure in different parks across the city. The jogger removed the video days later, citing growing unease and the feeling that they were being followed. No one else captured footage of the figure, though reports of similar sightings continued for a time before fading into memory. What remains is the brief glimpse offered by that single video and the questions it left behind about who or what was seated on that bench when no one else was near. Number 8. The quiet decay of forgotten places can unsettle even before anything unexplained occurs. In the case of the forgotten warehouse feed, the unease came not from the ruin itself, but from what appeared within it. A small security company testing old surveillance equipment posted a brief clip from one of their restored feeds. The camera, fixed high in a corner, overlooked a cavernous warehouse that had stood empty for years. The concrete floor was cracked and stained. The metal shelves were rusted and bent. The only sounds were the soft whir of the camera motor and the faint drip of water from a pipe above. For the first few minutes, the footage seemed uneventful. The emptiness of the space felt complete. Then movement caught the edge of the frame. A shadow, long and narrow, stretched across the floor. There was no obvious source. The camera's position made it clear no one had entered through the visible doors. The shadow moved with steady purpose, crossing from one side of the warehouse to the other, then vanishing at a point where the wall should have stopped anything from continuing further. The operators who shared the feed added no commentary. They posted the clip as part of a test, asking only if viewers could help calibrate image clarity. The responses they received focused less on technical advice and more on the unsettling presence captured by the lens. The video drew attention quickly, spreading beyond the small circle of security enthusiasts to broader forums interested in unexplained phenomena. Within days, it was removed. The company's page went offline. Copies that had been saved or mirrored suffered playback errors or displayed heavy distortion at the moment the shadow crossed the floor. The warehouse itself was demolished not long after, erasing the physical setting of the mystery. What lingers is the memory of that single quiet moment where something seemed to move through a place long believed abandoned, leaving only questions in its wake. Number 7. Among the simplest of objects, a door can hold a strange kind of power. It divides known space from the unknown, offering both safety and the potential for discovery. The video known as "The Shadow Behind the Door" began as an innocuous home renovation update. A homeowner was documenting repairs in an old property they had recently purchased. The footage was straightforward, showing peeling paint, creaking floorboards, and the dust of years left undisturbed. In the final portion of the video, the homeowner turned the camera toward a narrow doorway at the end of a hall. The door was slightly ajar, the room beyond swallowed in gloom. The intention had been to show the damaged wood and loose hinges. What the camera caught instead was something far harder to explain. As the camera moved closer, a shape became visible behind the door. It was darker than the shadows around it and seemed to shift, though the air was still. The homeowner paused, their voice lowering as they commented on the odd appearance. They reached out, fingers brushing the door, pushing it open with care. The shape vanished as the door swung inward. The room beyond was empty, except for an old chair and a cracked window. The camera lingered on the space, as if hoping for a sign that something remained. There was nothing, at least nothing that could be seen. The homeowner ended the recording soon after, unsettled but rationalizing what they had witnessed as a trick of the light or their imagination. When they shared the video online, viewers focused immediately on the brief moment when the shadow was visible. Frame-by-frame examinations did little to clarify what had been captured. The shape had no clear outline, no source that matched any object in the room. It appeared and disappeared in a way that defied simple explanation. The original poster removed the video within days, citing persistent discomfort in the home and the sense that the door no longer felt like just a door. Copies that surfaced elsewhere met the same fate. Glitches, errors, or removals left only descriptions from those who had seen it, recalling how a simple doorway had seemed, for a fleeting instant, to open onto something else entirely. Number 6. Late at night, the world takes on a different character. Streets that feel familiar by day become uncanny under the glow of streetlights. The video that came to be known as the empty street siren was recorded on such a night. A resident, unable to sleep, set up a small camera on their windowsill, hoping to capture the quiet calm of their neighborhood at midnight. The view showed a straight stretch of road, lined with parked cars and trees that barely moved in the still air. For the first few minutes, the recording seemed unremarkable. The only sounds were the occasional rustle of leaves and the faint hum of a distant engine. Then came the siren. It started as a low tone, growing steadily louder. The sound was unlike any siren the uploader or viewers would later recognize. It did not match emergency vehicles, nor did it seem mechanical. The tone rose and fell in a pattern that felt almost deliberate, almost like a call. The camera captured the street in perfect clarity. There was no car, no person, nothing that could have produced the sound. Lights in surrounding houses began to flicker on as others heard the strange siren, though no one appeared on the street. The camera remained focused on the empty road, the sound filling the night, until it stopped as suddenly as it had begun. The uploader shared the footage the next day, looking for explanations. Suggestions ranged from malfunctioning alarms to atmospheric phenomena, though no local reports mentioned sirens that night. The clip drew a wave of attention before it vanished. The original post disappeared, along with attempts to mirror the video. Files became corrupted or refused to play. Some who saw it spoke of how the sound seemed to linger in memory, as if echoing beyond the screen. The street itself remains quiet, unchanged in appearance, yet for those who watched, it holds the weight of that night when the ordinary was pierced by something that defied understanding. Number 5. Sometimes what unsettles most is not what moves, but what refuses to behave as it should. The Flickering Room recording surfaced quietly on a small home improvement forum. The uploader had intended to document an issue with faulty wiring. The short clip began with a view of an ordinary living room, the kind seen in countless homes. There was nothing at first glance to set it apart. A couch against one wall, a small table with scattered magazines, and a ceiling fixture casting soft light across the space. The flickering started soon after the recording began. The lights dimmed and brightened in an uneven rhythm. At first it seemed typical of a loose connection or an aging bulb, but as the moments passed, the pattern became more precise. Viewers who analyzed the footage noted the flicker seemed deliberate, almost like a sequence. The uploader's voice, calm at the start, grew uncertain. They mentioned hearing a soft ticking sound in time with the flashes, as if the room itself was keeping pace with some unseen metronome. The camera captured the shifting shadows on the walls, the way the objects seemed to pulse in the wavering light. When the clip ended, the uploader shared it along with a request for advice. Most responses offered practical suggestions, from checking the circuit to replacing the fixture. A few viewers, however, pointed out that the flicker resembled a coded message, perhaps Morse code, though no one could agree on what it spelled. The uploader removed the post within days, saying the issue had resolved on its own, but adding that the room no longer felt the same. The video vanished with it. Attempts to re-upload the footage or analyze it further met with corrupted files or errors during playback. What remained was the memory of light behaving in ways that light should not, and a room that seemed, for a short time, to communicate in pulses and shadows. Number 4. Elevators are spaces where time and distance seem to fold briefly into one. They are places of routine, yet when something feels amiss inside one, that unease lingers long after the doors open. The elevator reflection video began as an ordinary recording meant to capture a minor complaint. The uploader, a hotel guest, filmed themselves inside the mirrored walls of an elevator to document a flickering ceiling light and a stuttering button panel. Their face was clear in the glass, framed by the polished chrome and dim overhead bulbs. The ride was short, just a few floors, but in those moments, the video captured something that should not have been there. As the guest shifted position to point out the faulty button, the mirror revealed a second figure. It stood behind them in the reflection, though the space itself was empty. The figure was faint, like a smudge on the glass at first glance, but with each passing second, its shape became clearer. No features could be seen, no color or detail, only the outline of a person standing impossibly still. The uploader turned as the elevator slowed at their floor. There was no one there. The reflection remained until the doors opened, at which point both the figure and the image vanished together. The video was shared online that evening. The guest wrote that they had checked the mirror and the space behind them. They found nothing unusual, yet when they replayed the clip, the figure appeared each time, unchanging and silent. The video spread quickly, drawing attention far beyond the original intent. The guests deleted it within days, claiming they felt uneasy every time they stepped into an elevator afterward. Re-uploads failed, either through corrupted files or inexplicable errors. What lingers is the memory of that quiet moment when a reflection offered more than just an image, hinting at something standing closer than it should have been. Number 3. The sea has always held mysteries that defy explanation. Its horizon promises the infinite, and sometimes that endless line offers glimpses of the unknown. The Ocean Horizon Shape video began as part of a travel vlog. A sailor had set out to document their solo journey across a calm stretch of ocean. The camera, mounted near the bow of the vessel, recorded the steady rise and fall of waves beneath an open sky. The clip showed nothing unusual for the first few minutes. The water glistened under the sun, and the gentle rhythm of the boat created a peaceful scene. Then, something emerged on the horizon. A dark outline began to rise where sea met sky. It was massive, larger than any passing vessel should have been, and it moved with a slow, deliberate grace. The shape had no clear form, neither ship nor creature, and it lacked any visible structure. The sailor could be heard in the background, their voice shifting from calm narration to quiet disbelief. They tried to adjust the camera's zoom, but the shape remained just out of focus, as if distance or atmosphere blurred its edges. The recording continued for only a short time after the appearance. The shape lingered at the horizon, then seemed to sink back beneath the waves without disturbing the water's surface. The sailor uploaded the video soon after docking, hoping for answers. Viewers speculated wildly. Some suggested an uncharted island, or a mirage created by temperature shifts. Others whispered about ships lost long ago, or something older still that watched from the deep. The video drew attention quickly, but within days, it was gone. The original post vanished, and any saved copies suffered from visual distortions that erased the shape entirely. Those who saw it spoke of the unease they felt, as if the shape had marked the moment and waited beyond sight for another watcher. The ocean kept its secret, as it always does, leaving behind only a memory recorded for a fleeting instant before the waves closed over it again. Number 2. Tunnels are spaces where light and sound behave differently, places where the familiar fades into shadow. They are passages between one world and the next, where echoes last too long and darkness seems to press in from every side. The video that became known as The Tunnel Walker began as part of an ordinary cycling vlog. The rider, an outdoor enthusiast with a modest following, had set out to capture the beauty of an old rail trail that cut through forested hills and open fields. Their voice, casual and light-hearted, narrated the journey, describing the scents of pine and wildflowers, the warmth of the sun on their back, and the satisfying hum of the tires on gravel. The camera, mounted securely to their helmet, swayed gently with the motion of their ride, offering viewers a rider's eye view of the quiet path. The trail wound deeper into the woods, where the canopy thickened and the light took on a greenish cast. The breeze softened, replaced by the rhythmic sound of tires crunching over leaves and twigs. The rider chatted idly about the history of the rail line, how it had once carried freight and passengers through the region before it was abandoned. The path began to rise gently, curving along the base of a hill where the remains of old telegraph poles leaned at odd angles, and then the tunnel came into view. The entrance was framed by crumbling stonework, a great arch stained dark with rain and time. Ivy and moss clung to the blocks, and shards of fallen rock littered the ground near the threshold. The cyclists slowed, the cheerful tone of their voice giving way to awe at the sight of the structure. The air cooled noticeably as they approached. The tunnel's mouth yawned open, black as pitch inside, swallowing the afternoon light. They hesitated for a moment, the front wheel edging over the worn threshold. The rider made a joking comment about ghost stories, their voice echoing strangely in the hollow space ahead. Then, with a deep breath audible on the audio track, they pedaled inside. The shift in atmosphere was immediate. The light behind them faded with every meter they advanced, the dim glow of the exit at the far end barely visible. The tunnel walls, slick with moisture, seemed to absorb the sound of the tires, leaving only the faint hiss of the breeze funneled through the passage. The cyclist's headlamp flicked on, casting a narrow cone of light that illuminated old stone and occasional graffiti. The camera adjusted to the low light, the image grainy but clear enough to see the path ahead. That was when the figure appeared. It was just a shape at first, barely discernible in the dimness where the tunnel met daylight. A person, standing still, their silhouette framed by the pale glow of the exit. The cyclist's voice caught in their throat before they called out a greeting, their tone friendly but edged with surprise. There was no answer. The figure didn't move. It remained where it was, as still as the stone walls, an unbroken silhouette against the fading light. The rider slowed further, coasting along the damp floor, the sound of their tires mingling with the soft drip of water from the ceiling. As the distance closed, the figure remained motionless, its features impossible to make out. The outline suggested a person dressed in dark, loose clothing, but the lack of detail made it difficult to say. The cyclist's voice grew quieter, the casual chatter gone, replaced by hesitant questions that went unanswered. The figure seemed to absorb the words, as if the sound never reached it. The tunnel felt longer, the exit farther, the darkness deeper. A chill settled over the scene, the sort that raises the fine hairs on the back of the neck. Then, without sound or sign of exertion, the figure stepped sideways into the shadows at the tunnel's edge. The movement was smooth, deliberate, and final. The rider quickened their pace slightly, no longer interested in lingering. When they reached the spot where the figure had stood, they found nothing. The side walls were solid, without niches or doorways. The ground bore no footprints, though the floor was soft with moisture. There was no place for anyone to hide. The tunnel was empty. The rider's commentary faltered, replaced by uneasy silence. The last stretch of the tunnel passed quickly, the dim light at the exit growing until, with a final burst of motion, they emerged into the bright afternoon. The woods beyond seemed almost too vivid in contrast, the sun too warm, the breeze too fresh. The cyclist didn't look back. That evening they uploaded the footage as usual, titling it simply, "Unexpected Encounter on the Rail Trail." They described the figure briefly in the video description, asking viewers if anyone recognized the person or had seen anything similar. The clip attracted attention quickly. It spread through forums devoted to the unexplained, where viewers dissected the moment frame by frame. Some tried to enhance the image, adjusting contrast and brightness in search of detail that wasn't there. Theories bloomed like weeds: a lost hiker, a prankster, a trick of light, or something older that had waited in the tunnel's shadow for far longer than the rail line had existed. Comment threads filled with speculation and stories. Some spoke of the tunnel's history, rumors of accidents during its construction, whispers of strange happenings among those who maintained the tracks. A few viewers shared their own experiences of unease on that same trail, of the feeling of being watched, of fleeting glimpses of figures where none should be. Within days, the original video vanished. The cyclist removed it without explanation. Saved copies that surfaced elsewhere were incomplete or corrupted. In many, the point where the figure appeared was marred by distortion, the image breaking into static or freezing entirely. The cyclist posted one final message to their account before going quiet. They wrote that they had avoided the trail since that day. Even when passing the area by car, they felt as if unseen eyes followed their progress. The tunnel, they said, seemed to call to them in dreams, the figure's outline burned into memory. What remains is the fleeting image of a figure seen where no figure should have been, the memory of a voice calling out into silence, and the sound of tires turning in a space where light and sound no longer followed familiar rules. Number 1. There is something inherently unsettling about spaces that defy their own plans. The video known as "The Room That Shouldn't Exist" began as part of a real estate walkthrough. The agent, filming with a phone for a virtual tour, moved from room to room in what appeared to be an unremarkable house. The structure was dated, with worn carpets and faded wallpaper, but nothing suggested anything out of the ordinary. The camera followed the agent's commentary as they described square footage, closet space, and the potential for renovation. Then the unexpected occurred. The agent opened a door at the end of a narrow hallway, revealing a room that was not marked on any blueprint. The footage showed a small space, windowless and empty, lit only by the hallway light spilling through the open door. The walls were bare concrete, the floor smooth and cold. The agent's voice faltered as they noted the room's presence. There was no sign of previous use, no markings, no fixtures, just the strange, silent space that seemed to exist between the boundaries of what the house should contain. The agent stepped inside briefly, the camera capturing the way sound seemed to dampen within those walls. No echo, no reflection of their voice, only the soft click of their shoes against the floor. They left the room quickly, closing the door with a hand that trembled slightly. The video was posted online as a curiosity. Viewers speculated on the purpose of the space, some suggesting an old utility room sealed and forgotten, others proposing more unsettling ideas tied to the house's past. The agent removed the clip within days, writing in a short follow-up that the house had been sold, but that they no longer felt comfortable showing similar properties alone. Attempts to locate the original video failed. Copies that surfaced after its removal either refused to play or showed only static where the room appeared. The house itself was renovated and resold, its plans corrected, its strange room erased from record. What remains is the memory of that brief glimpse into a space that should not have been there at all. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and don't forget to like this video.